Hello, and welcome to my Let's Play of Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. Quite possibly the best game for the N64, in my opinion, and, without a doubt, neck and neck with Paper Mario for best N64 RPG. Not that either of the games had a lot of competition, as, in terms of RPGs. I mean, the N64 had what else? Like, Aiden Chronicles, and nobody played that. Nobody played that and enjoyed it anyway. So as you can see, I was piddling around a little bit at the beginning there, and as you're about to see, I'm going to start loading the game, and I'm going to figure, wait, I need to start a new game if I'm going to Let's Play this, so yeah. So right now we're just waiting for me to figure out, yeah, there we go. Okay. I've kept all the introductions and everything intact to the best of my ability for those who've never seen this game before. So, let's see how this goes. And I skipped that intro, obviously, because it has very little pertinence to this Let's Play. And I will be explaining PUD elements as we go along, so it's not going to be a problem. Ishka Military Academy, graduation ceremony. This portion of the game doesn't serve much purpose, but to answer a bunch of random questions and to determine what your starting army will be like. And I answered all the questions at random because I felt adventurous. So you'll see me scrolling through them like a slot machine and, you know, just selecting things at random here. And as you can see, for the name I chose Let's Play because, you know, hey, why not? I was going to go with Robbie, but I decided not to because not only would it look silly, well, actually I think it would look less silly than Let's Play, but, you know, it helps me distinguish the save file from my other save files, so... You know, just in case I'm playing for fun and I don't want to advance this without recording it for y'all. So, let's see here. Then I thought about going with Wolfie, or Wolf something, but I was like, I need to stay consistent, because I think I'm going to use the same name for all of my Let's Plays, so, yeah. Right now, I am punching in the name, as you can see. Sorry for the pointless narration here. We're just going to wait until I'm done with that. Excellent! And, what is the date of my birth? I basically just selected a random date, again. And the only pertinence the date really has to anything is that, whenever your character's birth date comes up on the in-game calendar, you get a birthday present and a special scene. If you, go to the, options on the overworld map and look at everything. So here I am selecting everything at random, and my starting army didn't end up being too bad, except I did get one unit of the most useless class in the game, which is the Witch. As the Witch does nothing but cast status effect spells, which are of very dubious usefulness in this game. They have absolutely no way of inflicting any damage to an opponent. In fact, the only, you'd think that poison would do something like that, but in this game, poison seems to be just a debuffer. I really have no idea what it does. The only ones that are really useful are sleep and paralysis. And, you know. So... these are the starting items that I was gifted with in addition to my starting army. And the Pedro of Water, which I chose because it's got wolves made of water charging at people. Pedros are like special attacks that you have to charge up over the course of a battle, and you can only use them once per mission. But luckily you collect other Pedros over the course of the game. This is the Pedro of Bane, which is quite possibly the most badass in my opinion. And there's the Pedro of Virtue, which is like the ultimate undead killing tool in the game. And here we see, oh my god, Lens Flare. Yeah, Lens Flare. Here's a little intro sequence. You guys find the mandolin. The music in this game is quite good, especially given the limited N64 sound chipset they were given to work with. They really made the most of it. And I am to this day I marvel at the fact they were able to cram so much content into a little cartridge. Most RPG developers would have just said screw it and gone with PS1 discs because they had so much more storage space, but you know, Atlas stuck it out and said, okay, we're going to develop a new Ogre Battle for this. So, yeah. And they're entering the castle. And this is the point where we meet our commander for this point of the game. Oops, first we get the little pseudo-philosophical BS before the mission. Or a chapter, I suppose I should say. Casting their gaze on the ground, trudging along. Sounds kind of depressing. And at times this game can be a little depressing in terms of the storyline, but it's very deep and mature, and it's worth every emotional part of the emotional roller coaster here. And here is our commander, General Godeslas. He's going to give us a little pep talk. Welcome to the Palatinian Southern... yeah, I didn't exactly linger on some of the text here, but, you know, you're always welcome to play the game for yourself if you miss anything. Or I can always, you know, go back and retrieve it for you. There should be scripts for this game available online, maybe not even on GameFAQs, so it's a good place to check. And here he is talking about how the Southern Division is like one of the most rugged and desolate places in Palatinus, which is the country in which this game takes place. The setting for this game is heavily based on medieval Europe, with even an analog for the Catholic Church. It seems to be pulling the strings behind most of the countries on the continent. So, yeah, it's called the Holy Lotus Empire. Subtle, except not really. But it's still an excellent game with an excellent story. Monale, let's play. I have to smirk a little bit whenever I see that name. You know, the character's actually saying it like a name, but you know, I'll get used to it eventually. And here he is briefing us. Sorry for all the random rambling I'm having to do here. There's not a lot to work with in the intro of the game. Like most RPGs, the intro can be a little bit chatty. So here we go, we meet Hugo, or gray-haired old man as he is called in this frame. And let's see here, Magnus walks in. Let's play Gallant, reporting as requested, sir. Anyway, yeah, I have to laugh whenever I see that. But it was the best choice, I guess. So your Let's Play. I see. And then this game, like a lot of other sprite-based RPGs, has a habit of emoting by having its characters say ... question mark or ... exclamation point or something of that nature when they're confused or alarmed or something like that. And I guess in this game it makes a little bit more sense than some others, because the N64's graphics were, you know, the limitations they had to work with. I'm not saying that they couldn't have made the game look better, but they could have done so at the sacrifice of... Yeah, sorry, my mom knocked on my door and asked what I was doing. Yeah, they could have enhanced the graphics at the sacrifice of reducing a lot of the game content, and I'm really against things like that. I'm far from a graphics whore. Not my, you know, graphics are nearly irrelevant. I mean, it's nice to see something that's representational and not like little tiny ASCII ASCII little sprites like ZZT or something. But graphics are a secondary concern to me. Here I am taking stock of my starting army, and there's the witch, the useless class. Well, it's useless human class anyway. There are a couple of classes that are slightly less useful, but there are only a couple, as I said. So I'm disbanding that unit, and here I am contemplating what I'm going to do with this unit, because I've never had to deal with one before. And I'm deciding whether or not I want to make it the basic female class, which is Amazon, a simple archer class. And in the end, I decided to do that because, you know, she can always be used to beef up other units later. You know, so I'm rearranging my my other units here before I make that decision. One of the things about this game is that you do very little of the decision making yourself. I mean, you make all the decisions. I said that I misspoke there, but you do let your units do all the fighting for you a little bit more so than you would in other games, because you simply determine, you know, where they stand on a 3x3 grid. Sorry, not 9x9, 3x3. And depending on where you place them, they do different things and have different numbers of attacks and have different stats, things like that. So it's very strategic without being very tactical sometimes, if that makes any sense. You'll see what I mean momentarily when the game proper actually gets started. So yeah, I ended up disbanding that unit and making the decision to say, hey, you know, I'm just going to change her into an Amazon because she's more useful. That even the basic class is more useful than the Witch, which is a second tier class. Basically, another thing about this game is that a lot of things hinge on the way you compose your units, as I said, and a lot of that depends on what kind of classes you pair with other characters. For instance, there are two basic classes, one male, one female. The male is the fighter, which are those little dudes you see there with the swords and the helmets. And then the second is the female, which is the Amazon. And from then you have kind of classes that branch out and give you more options. I'm making a mistake here, but I won't realize it until later. Anyway, they give you more options, like for instance, from a fighter you can become a wizard, a knight, which is what that guy in the front of the second unit is. Just any number of things. The level of unit customization in this game is incredibly vast, even by today's standards of strategy games. So that's another thing that makes it really impressive to me. And at this point I'm finally done. I probably should have cut that out, and I might consider doing that in the future, but I just wanted to give you a look at what the organization screen was like, for those of you who've never played this game. And here I go, starting the first mission, the Prologue. Scene 1, the Southern Reaches. As you see, there's that Palatinian eagle there, with the sword in its beak. Or I guess it's more of a griffin, because it's got the, lion tail and back legs, oh well. Whatever the case may be. Griffins are usable units in this game. Here we have good old Dio, the hot-headed knight. His full name is Diomedes, but he goes by Dio, which, interestingly, the first couple games in this saga, Ogre Battle and Tactics Ogre, they both had subtitles that were also the names of Queen songs. They had little rock-related, like musical references scattered throughout. And for instance, Ogre Battle 1 was called March of the Black Queen, and Tactics Ogre was called Let Us Cling Together. And so, despite the fact that they eschewed that naming scheme for this game, they might have put Dio in there as just a little nod to Ronnie James Dio. He's one of my personal favorite singers. He's widely revered as the god of metal. But before I start ranting about that, here's the first mission briefing. Basically, it's just explaining some basic facts about map display and things like that, giving you what the basic object of the game will be in each mission, which is basically take the enemy stronghold and don't let them take yours. But often there are other stipulations that make it more interesting than that, especially towards the end of the game. There are time frames you have to comply with, and certain people you have to protect, although escort missions in this game are not horribly irritating like they are in most other video games. So here we go. I skipped the last bit of the briefing so we could get to the meat of the game quicker. And here's Dio getting angry because Let's Play has been nominated the commander, and Hugo trying to convince him that it's not a big deal. First, Dio's going to ask you to take it outside anyway. right after Hugo leaves. Teacher's out of the room, let's act up. Why do you get to be the commander? Come on, let's take it outside. Yeah, I'm not going to do that voice anymore. I'll spare you. And here we go. Another thing that was revolutionary about this game, not revolutionary in fact it was the first to do it, revolutionary and it was one of the first to do it well, is the branching plot lines, like simple decisions that you make in various other ways you play the game even, determine how the story ends up in some regards. Like for instance, depending on which choice you make, whether you choose to fight Dio or whether you choose to refuse him. I chose to refuse his offer of a fight. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it will cause things to turn out drastically different later. And you may see how, depending on how long I continue this Let's Play series for. And here is Dio getting a lecture. Yep. It's for now, or blah blah blah. Very chatty, but you know, a lot of RPG suffer from that. You know, from Final Fantasy to Persona to anything, just about any JRPG you pick up. J stands for Japanese in this case. There will be an element of chattiness to the beginning of the game, and possibly the meat of the game, depending on what you're playing. And here we go. It's displaying the losing condition, the winning condition, which is, as I said, losing capture of your headquarters, winning capture of the enemy headquarters, and just some basic tutorial crap it was trying to throw at me. I've played this game a kabillion times, so I really don't need it. And here I am arranging the rest of my starting troops. Some of these units are under strength and just not very well organized, including Dio's, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of organization. Here's that all-important organization screen again. As I said, I probably will be skipping this portion of the gameplay for most of the other episodes of this Let's Play, because, you know, it's entertaining to do. I love micromanagement and stuff like that, but I imagine it would be rather boring for you all to watch, so I'm probably going to be trimming this bit, trimming the fat here from now on. Let's see here. Soldiers. Another interesting thing about this game are the soldiers, the little pea-sized guys with the helmets and the spears. They are probably the weakest class in the game. They're like below first tier, in that you can't change their class, you can't change their equipment, you can't do anything like that. But they are very important because they come in little groups of 3, and if all three of them die, like each of them is a third of their total, a third of the group's total HP. And if all of them die, you know, you lose that unit. But they're easily replaceable. You get more at the end of every mission, depending on how well you do. As I was saying, soldiers are important because if they experience enough battle, they turn into actual units, either an Amazon or a fighter. And it's not like they start like at the lowest level possible. As you progress through the game, they will start at a higher level depending on where you are in the game. But they'll still be just Amazons or fighters. But they're still incredibly useful. They pad out your ranks. Like, I mean, when they level up and become an actual unit that you can use for something. They have this weak little spear attack, and occasionally, if they're on the same row of the grid, they will do a super attack. But it's hardly can be called super. It's just they all bunch up together. You'll see what I mean later on. One thing that's tough about doing Let's Plays, from what I'm learning so far, is showing and not telling. So I'm going to have to do more of that. I don't want to bore you all with my speech here. And here I am checking out all the settlements that I can capture, giving orders, checking the status of everybody. And the emulator lags a little bit when I check the status, and my computer's already hot. But, you know, such is life. The rest of the game plays like a dream, so I'm not going to complain. The recording's a little bit laggy anyway, but not so much that it ruins everything. Okay, so I'm directing Baskirk, which is the knight unit, to take that settlement. And I am directing Magnus to take that one. giving all the units their respective orders. Yeah, here we go. I'm sending Dio way off there. He's going to become one of my crack units. Not crack as in crack cocaine, but crack as in experienced and highly skilled. That's what I like to call them in this game, the ones that you can send off on their own and not have to worry about them getting picked off because they're just so damn awesome. Crack units. And you'll notice the village names seem to have been chosen at random. Not that they're different every playthrough, they're always the same in each area, but some of them are actually the names of real places in our world. Like Bordeaux is a region of the west coast of France, I believe. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. You probably don't, but you know. And so, changing my orders on the fly. One thing that's awesome about this game is you can pause it to issue orders. Accidentally selected mission objectives there when I made the change of settings. I noticed the game was moving incredibly sluggishly, so I was like, hey, I probably forgot to change the game speed. And it is extremely important that you do that if you don't want to just be sitting there for... I mean, it just about doubles the amount of time a mission takes to complete if the game speed is on normal as opposed to fast. So it's pretty imperative if you want to have the maximum amount of fun you possibly can with this game. And pretty soon you'll get to see your first battle of the game. My units are heading towards that settlement. They're going to take on the enemy. I found some old clothing randomly. Occasionally your units will find items, some of them are useless, some of them are pretty awesome. Just strewn about the ground, just strewn about the earth here. And here's the first battle. And one thing I like about this game is the plot. So many things I like about this game, but the plot really thickens and jumps out at you from the very beginning. It starts to thicken immediately, as a matter of fact, with this first conversation between these nameless enemies. Here's this wizard standing against your well-assembled force. Well, as I said, the battles consist of your units performing their actions pretty much autonomously, but you can give them like an overall command, like aim for the leader, or aim for the pick off the weakest one, or something like that. But attack leader is generally the only one that's consistently practical, because when a unit loses its leader, they can either change to a different leader if they're one of your units, or they can, what was I trying to say? They can just stand there and they automatically run away slowly from any approaching enemies, but they are pretty much helpless without their leader. It's like cutting off the head of the Hydra, or the head of the beast, I suppose you could say, because the Hydra would just go its head back. Anyway. Wrong analogy. So, Molsek has been liberated. I've liberated the first settlement there. Passkirk found a boulder sword. That's a decent sword there. Gonna equip my little fighters with, instead of these wimpy little short swords that they're stuck with. And Dio is meeting some opposition, it would seem. Yeah. So I'm gonna have Passkirk go over there and take on that witch. Again, you'll see. Again, you'll see pretty much how useless witches can be when Dio fights this witch-led unit. So just a witch and a griffin. The cool thing about this game is about the classes and about the enemies that you see is that with a very few notable exceptions, just about anything that you fight against, you can also, control somehow. You can get one for yourself, even the big demonic enemies. Some of them you have to jump through hoops to get, but, sometimes it's worth it to get a really awesome character. And of course, for those of you who don't feel like going through the effort, there's always, the Game Shark that's built into the emulator, Game Shark, Game Genie, whatever it happens to be. Action Replay, whatever. I don't even know if Action Replay was made for the N64, but I know they have Game Shark. That's a mistake I mentioned earlier. I put Magnus in the back, and giving him that particular sword turns him into a healer instead of a fighter, more or less. So here's Dio's unit again, wrecking crap, and kicking ass and taking names and all that good stuff. And we'll see how this turns out. It's actually fun watching my own Let's Play because, you know, I realize little things that I didn't notice while I was playing in the heat of the moment, you know. So here we are, back on the world map, and Dio has won that battle. Something that makes this game a little bit more realistic in one regard is than other tactical strategy games is that winning a battle does not consist of killing everything that stands in your way. You know, like, if you inflict a higher total amount of damage in one battle than your enemy does, then you automatically win the battle after everyone has taken their number of actions, and the loser is forced to retreat a certain amount of distance. So, you know, it really encompasses that feeling of, you know, how real battles actually wins. You know, it wasn't all about killing everything. It was about forcing your enemy to retreat, and you know, more than often than not, forcing them pushing them into compromising positions where you could divide and conquer and things like that. So it allows you a greater degree of strategy than just kill everything. You know. And being the prologue, this mission is relatively short. As you can see, I'm already nearing the ultimate goal of this mission, which is that settlement, the odd-looking circular settlement down at the bottom right. But what I like to do in this game, instead of just going straight for the throat of the objective, is to take out all the enemies I can for extra experience before I take on the boss. And the boss will generally remain stationary and won't really chase after you or anything like that. So you can pretty much go at your own pace in that regard. Here's my Valkyrie unit, Sheila. Using her to clean up duty here. Clean up the rest of the opposition on the map. And I'm going to have Dio attack that unit there. As Kirk the Knight is unit to become fatigued to set up camp until they can recover enough energy to fight. That's another thing that's cool about this game is that, you know, your characters have to sleep, and so do your enemies. So if you're good, you can catch them like off guard while they're at camp, and they'll all be asleep beginning of the battle, and you can get them some shots before they can. It's one of those little tactical edges you can give yourself if you're a skilled tactician in this game. But yeah, and Dio is taking them out. I of course expected nothing less. And also defeating an enemy unit entirely. There is some incentive to do that because they will often drop items, some of which are useful, some of which are not. But you know, you can always sell what you don't use for some Goth, which is interestingly the name of the currency in this game. Goth, G-O-T-H, exactly how you think it was spelled. As far as I can tell, it's not making reference to any kind of subculture, you know. And Baskirk is ready to break camp and keep marching, as he said. Oh, excuse me, I keep yawning. Thank you all for bearing with me. Dio has caught the enemy off unawares from behind. So they're going to fight it out and take out this last enemy in this unit here. Shouldn't be too hard. Looks like I've already got him whittled down. You notice the bottom left and top right of the screen are basically charts that display how much HP each character in each unit has. So there's I noticed that little flag is almost filled up, which means Sheila's unit is almost completely fatigued, so I'm going to let her rest a little bit so she doesn't have to make camp randomly and get ambushed while she's sleeping. That would just be rude. So here now we have, she's breaking camp, and she's going to take on this unit who's got the nerve to march out here. And here we go, another battle. And here we get to see some magic at use here. I think the lightning effect is really cool in this game. Right there. The Valkyrie is like a physical and magical class at the same time, depending on where on the grid you put them. They will either cast a magic spell, or a magic attack spell, or they will swing with their spears. Either way, they're pretty good. My only complaint about the Valkyrie class is that they're not very durable as opposed to some of the male fighter classes, but you know, what can you do? This game came out in 2000, I believe, right at the turn of the century, beginning of the new millennium. So, you know, even in fantasy RPGs, gender equality was not all it could be. And here we go, tearing these guys a new one with Basker's unit. And I won that battle, as you can see. Excellent, excellent. So he's going to take them out pretty soon. I just had to make sure he was still on track. And Sheila begins fighting the main boss. And there'll be some dialogue here, if I'm not mistaken. You see a little bit more of the plot thickening here. Basically, the monsters that were the monsters and bandits, wild monsters and bandits who were attacking the local citizenry, it turned out not to be wild monsters or bandits at all, but they were in cahoots with each other. Cahoots is a funny word. Anyway. Yes, basic combat going on here. But you'll find out what they were up to shortly, once I take this guy out. Basically, the goal of every mission once you get to the enemy stronghold is to take out the enemy leader. As long as you do that, you win. All the rest of their units, all the rest of the characters in that unit, the leader's unit surrender, and you essentially win the mission at that point. So here we go. Sheila's going to try to take him on again. Dio might do the same. And let's see here. We're ready to attack with Basper. Awesome. And fight it out. Hopefully he'll take this unit out finally. There's been thorn in my side, distracting me. And that Cerberus stood up to a lot of abuse, but... Wait, no, not Cerberus, that's a Hellhound. Cerberus is a promoted version of Hellhound, which doesn't look as cool. It looks more like a bulldog or something, whereas the Cerberus looks more like a wolf. I mean, the Hellhound looks more like a wolf. With 2 heads. The Cerberus has 3 heads, but it's kind of ugly looking as opposed to the Hellhound. It looks pretty cool. And here we are. Finally about to take out one of the bosses of the mission, I think. No, this is the other generic unit. That's right. The nameless unit. Alright. So we're almost done anyway, though. I've taken the bugger out. Fantastic. let's see here. Excellent. Ready to attack. Blah. And here we go. Finally gonna finish this guy off. There's that special soldier attack I was talking about. And this lightning attack will take him out. And this is the end. The end of this mission, anyway. And you'll see the little fireworks. Pew, pew, boom. Celebrating your victory. Congratulations! You have completed a great game. No, not really. There's no English in this game. The localization is actually fantastic. Let's see. Here's Let's Play, our hero, asking this gentleman what he happens to be planning. And Dio brings news that the prince is being attacked. So, yeah. The prince, who is Magnus's childhood friend, Let's Play his childhood friend. Magnus is the character's default name. And then you find out that this whole plot was part of an attempt at revolution. So 3 guesses as to what's going to happen with the revolution here. And Let's Play is off to save the prince, but Dio protests out of character, you know, protesting that we have no plan or no intel. So usually you'd think he would be the one charging headlong into the fray, judging from his prior behavior. You know, anything to contradict the main character, he's still bitter towards, I guess you'd say. And here's who you go. Excellent. So we will have some reinforcements when we go to rescue the prince. Here's Dio. Huh? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Yes. And this is apparently the end of the first mission. I thank you all for joining me for my first ever Let's Play. You all have a great day. Thanks for watching. Fiddling with everything.